Welcome to Add This Unit, a video series where I spotlight an FE character that hasn't been added to FE yet, and theorize how they would be introduced to the game. If you've seen my top 20 most wanted units for 2019 list, this concept is probably going to be similar to what I did there, and I'm pretty happy with how 2019 has gone so far. Oh my god, thank you. So let's start. Today's spotlighted character is JaeAIK.
Why are you still playing that garbage-ass game?
Well, I mean...
Dragalia Lost is better.
Well, that's debatable.
Nice try, man. Why don't you just go look these things up on Reddit? They've existed forever, bro.
Alright, shut the fuck! It's JaeAIK, okay? JaeAIK? JaeAIK is a playable mage in FE7, the Blazing Blade, and if you want to invest in a mage early on, JaeAIK really is your only option. The other mage options in the game are Pent, who joins on Chapter 24 as a fully promoted sage, or Nino, who can be recruited in Chapter 26 as a level 5 mage. Oh god, I hate this chapter so much. JaeAIK is the adoptive son of Pent and Louise, two nobles of Etruria, and he's a highly intelligent introvert who's engrossed in his studies. He's the mage apprentice of Lord Pent, and he's constantly feeling a pressure that he will never be able to surpass his master. While his self-confidence issues don't really impact his performance on the battlefield, he has this constant obsession with learning as much as he can about the arcane. All of this so he can fill the shoes of one of the greatest mages in Etruria. Lena and company first run into JaeAIK on Chapter 5, where we find out that he's a mercenary who was hired to escort a demure lady back to House Ostia. Who can this be? Well, none other than the lovely Sarah. JaeAIK and Sarah are naturally like oil and water, but I guess if you shake that up enough, they'll kinda mix temporarily. Yeah, I'm not sure how these two have a paired ending, but their interactions together are as close to gold as you can get. Sarah, you're the last person I wanted to see. After Part 1 ends and he successfully escorts Sarah to House Ostia, we later run into him in Part 2 with a new mission from Lord Pent. JaeAIK's quest is to protect Priscilla and also aid her in finding out anything about her family. JaeAIK's role in FE7 is one of a young magical bodyguard, and Pent seems to be pushing him to take on these jobs so he can get some worldly experience, as opposed to locking himself in his room all day and reading books. JaeAIK may come off as a cold and reclusive character, and that much is true, but he does appreciate the camaraderie of others, just in his own special way, and he accidentally makes girls cry. That's so relatable! After the events of the game, JaeAIK is asked to succeed Lord Pent as the Mage General, but he refuses to in order to continue his study of magic. However, in this FE6 promotional material that was translated, it is stated that Cecilia was the top student of the previous Mage General, Elk. Yeah, close enough for me. Through hard work and dedication, JaeAIK eventually grows into a respected sage and also learns that balance is necessary in order to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Looking at JaeAIK's growth rates in-game, he honestly has a pretty mediocre magic growth. Unless you're extremely lucky, you aren't gonna cap this stat. He excels in speed and res and also has a pretty good HP growth as well. So while he might not be a nuke mage, he reliably doubles and has a good amount of bulk on him for a caster. I based the stat spread off of Legendary Julia and Thraseer's 162 BST, and I know they're legendary heroes, but I'm assuming it will be standard for infantry mages pretty shortly. His HP stat is on the higher end, and I made his speed close to the top of the class as well. He's squishy to physical attacks considering that defense is his lowest growth, but I made him capable of taking some magic shots. And for his attack stat, I was a bit generous, so while 34 isn't high by any means, there are plenty of capable mages in the game boasting base 34. Picking a color for mages can be difficult sometimes, especially in a game like Blazing Blade where anima mages are capable of using every element. I'm making JaeAIK 3 kits for this video, and depending on what tome he gets, I'll be changing his color typing accordingly. The first 2 kits are going to be a best case scenario for him to be a premium unit, and the last one will treat him as a Tempest Trial unit. This kit will be based off of giving JaeAIK the Fimbulveter tome. It's an A-grade magic that you get access to very late in the game, and there's only one tome that is stronger, the Excalibur. And that was given to Flying Nino and Faye, cause why not? I've theorized about Fimbulveter being added to Faye before, but I'm changing the effect to something different this time. It's going to be giving +3 res, and if your res is greater or equal to 3 of the enemy target's res, you'll gain +4 attack and speed, and -1 special cooldown per action. I chose this because JaeAIK is a great choice for taking down armored bosses in FE7, and JaeAIK tends to have a decent crit rate. Like I said previously, JaeAIK is mostly seen throughout the game as a bodyguard, so the rest of his kit encourages him to stay close to another unit. Rally Defense Res Plus translates to me as JaeAIK being an escort and protecting his employer. Attack Speed Bond 4 is going to give him the firepower he needs, and also a bit of bulk in the form of nullifying enemy debuffs. And finally, Speed Res Oath will buff JaeAIK a bit further if he's next to an ally at the start of a turn, and it would push a neutral IV'd JaeAIK to 38 res, which would hopefully be enough to get Fimbulveter's effect off. There aren't a lot of preferred weapons in FE7 barring the 3 Lords and Athos, so with this kit I'm going to give AIK his own personal tome. Fimbulvator would make me push AIK to be a blue infantry mage, but with this one I'm going to be making him a red infantry mage. The People's Tome would probably have an animation similar to Elfire, and because we see AIK escorting 2 different healers throughout the game, I'm going to play off of that. Pupil's Tome grants +3 speed, and if AIK is within 2 spaces of an allied staff unit during combat, he gets +6 to all stats. A bit strong, but situational, and the counterplay would be to target any healers first. His assist, special, and A skill would be the same as his previous kit that I made, but I'm going to be giving him attack res ruse 3 instead of oath this time. AIK is highly intelligent, so it's safe to assume he's a tactical fighter as well, and this would give him more favorable matchups in a clever way. And finally, the worst case scenario, I call this the Knas treatment. In this universe, AIK is a TT reward. He would come with Blarfox Plus, which is honestly a pretty decent non-PRF tome. I think a fox really fits AIK as a spirit animal, cunning, clean, and tidy, and it would be a great way to introduce this tome into the F2P pool. Def Res Bond 3 has yet to be added on a free unit, and it thematically fits him, and Speed Smoke 3 is still a 5-star lock skill to this date. It might be on Possessed Takumi, but level 3 is still a 5-star skill. All 3 of these kits would make AIK a unit who relies on being near an ally, but when he is, he's extremely strong and able to dismantle enemy strategies. So why should we care about AIK? For a lot of us, FE7 was our introduction to Fire Emblem, and AIK basically was there to show the player how amazing magic can be. His most prominent connections are with characters that have already been added to Fae, and it feels kinda empty without him. At this point in the Fae lifecycle, we pretty much have every class combo covered, so there isn't a huge demand for AIK. But I also think people would crack open the Orb piggy bank for him, and it would make tons of fans, including myself, very happy. And that concludes the first episode of Add This Unit. I personally have a lot of fun trying to predict which units will be added to Fae in the future, and it'll be a neat thing to come back to when AIK gets added in, and everything I predicted is completely wrong. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any suggestions for characters you want me to spotlight in the next one, feel free to let me know. Or, if you didn't like this video, then I might not make any more, who knows. As always, take care, and SpeedyHawk out.